Folks, in my 20 years working as a scout, evaluator, and insider in this league, I've seen some wild moves, some shocking surprises, but what I'm about to tell you now, it's unlike anything I've ever witnessed in my entire career. Something is happening behind the scenes right now. Something so huge, so explosively clandestine, that it could reshape the entire landscape of the NFL this offseason. I'm talking about a deal so unprecedented, so utterly game-changing, that it threatens to turn the Detroit Lions into a full-blown NFL powerhouse by the time March rolls around. But here's the catch. This is all still under wraps, locked in vaults deeper than Fort Knox, and if you're not paying close attention, you'll miss the entire story. What I'm about to reveal will blow your mind, but stay with me, because once you hear the truth, you'll realize we're on the brink of something that might just redefine what's possible in today's NFL. And I guarantee, what you're about to hear now is just the tip of the iceberg. Before I drop the full bombshell, if you're serious about staying ahead of the curve, about understanding what's really happening under the surface of the league's most explosive rumors, hit that subscribe button, smash that like, and activate the bell. Because this secret I'm unveiling, it's only known to a select few insiders, and the moment it leaks out, trust me, you'll see headlines explode across every corner of the NFL universe. Now, let's get into the meat of this. What monster deal is quietly being orchestrated behind closed doors? And why, right now, is the Detroit Lions on the verge of pulling off a move that could define the 2026 NFL season? Let's peel back the curtain and step into the shadows of the NFL's most clandestine negotiations. Right now, the Detroit Lions, under the relentless leadership of Dan Campbell, have been operating with surgical precision for 2 years. 2024, a historic 15-2 campaign, showed the league that this franchise is no longer a joke, no longer just a rising team. They're now legitimate contenders. But what's behind that success? A mix of aggressive coaching, innovative schemes, key draft picks, and a roster hungry for greatness. Yet buried beneath that success lies an unspoken truth. The Lions are not just chasing another playoff appearance, they're blueprinting the future. And that blueprint involves one domino that, if it falls correctly, could elevate Detroit to a level that even their most optimistic fans never imagined. And that domino, it's none other than the interior defensive line. Specifically, it's someone who, until recently, has been quietly operating in the shadows of NFL stardom, David Onyemata. Now I know what you're thinking. Wait, Onyemata? The guy from Atlanta. He's a good player, but is he really enough to tip the scales for a team like Detroit? Well, hold tight, because I've done the deep dive, and what I've uncovered is mind-boggling. Let me take you step by step through what's happening in the back channels. First, Onyemata at 33 is still playing some of the best football of his career. This past season, he's been an absolute force, top 10 run defender in the entire league, no small feat for a guy pushing 34. His 62 tackles is a career high, with 13 run stuffs, more than most interior linemen dream of producing in a season. From a film perspective, Onyemata's game is a masterclass in leverage, power, and technique. His hands are like vices, constantly shedding blockers and closing gaps faster than any lineman in the league. His penetration on run plays has forced offenses to rethink their entire game plan. And his pass rush, surprisingly for a guy mainly known as a run stuffer, has been elite. 18 quarterback pressures, including multiple bull rush wins that collapse pocket integrity. This isn't just stats, this is film analysis on steroids. He's the guy who can instantly upgrade any interior defense, yet he's a free agent and the entire league knows it. Now, how does that fit into Detroit's grand scheme? Well, here's where it gets even more intriguing. Inside sources tell me that the Lions' leadership, led by GM Brad Holmes and coach Dan Campbell, are eyeing Onyemata with surgical precision. They see him as the missing piece, someone who can completely overhaul their defensive front and push them into a new echelon. Dominant run defense? Check. Pass rush from the interior? Check. Veteran leadership and reliability? Double check. But why Onyemata? Why him at this stage of his career when there are younger, cheaper options out there? The answer lies in what the Lions see in him beyond the surface. Unmatched leadership, a high football IQ, and a relentless motor that fits perfectly with Campbell's culture of grit and toughness. Plus, the Lions are quietly exploring a blockbuster trade, one that would send shockwaves through the league. to secure Ani Yamada now, not in free agency but via a mid-season or pre-season blockbuster. What I've uncovered, through multiple sources close to the negotiations, is that the Lions are secretly preparing a deal that would send a package of draft picks and young players, possibly a future pick or two, as well as a veteran or two to Atlanta. The Falcons. They're in rebuild mode, and Ani Yamada's age and injury history make him a prime trade candidate. But here's what's crazy. Atlanta's front office is asking for a haul. They're not just letting Ani Yamada walk for chump change. They want multiple picks, maybe a high rounder, and explicit protections to make sure they aren't losing a key anchor for nothing. This is the kind of deal that changes the very fabric of the draft board and the offseason strategy. Now, logically, how could this work? Atlanta, in the middle of a rebuild with a new regime eager to accelerate their timeline, sees Ani Yamada as a trade chip to latch onto future assets. The Lions, already loaded with young talent and a desire to mount a swift Super Bowl push, see Ani Yamada as the final piece, someone who can immediately elevate the interior line and unlock their defense's true potential. They might even include a player like James Houston or a promising rookie to sweeten the deal, something that Atlanta would find irresistible. Salary cap-wise, the Lions are perfectly positioned. They have room to absorb Ani Yamada's contract, and with the right restructuring or extension, they can make this work. Atlanta, meanwhile, manages to recoup draft capital, clear the books for either a youth movement or a new free agent splash, and move forward with a more flexible cap situation. But what makes this move so explosive? It's not just about filling a positional gap. It's about the entire identity of the Lions transforming overnight. They're already an aggressive, front-footed team, but Ani Yamada would add a dimension of interior dominance that offenses simply wouldn't be able to handle. Imagine a defensive line with Ani Yamada, Aiden Hutchinson, and a burgeoning star like Josh Paschal. Teams would be forced into passive mode. The mental game alone would shift, and the locker room. Oh, they're fully aware of this, whispering about how Ani Yamada's leadership and experience could catalyze their entire defense into a nightmare for offenses. And here's where the drama hits the next level. Atlanta's front office knows this is a game changer, and they're holding firm. The deal isn't just about cap relief or draft assets, it's about sending a message. Ani Yamada at 33 still has plenty left in the tank, and his growth potential here is huge. And for Detroit, they're not just looking at a player, they're investing in a symbol of their future. The Lions want to be known as the team that takes bold risks, the team that isn't afraid to go all in. And if they pull this off, it'll be headline news. A veteran star swapped for future picks, instantly elevating the defense into league's elite. Now let me break down the film and the advanced metrics that make Ani Yamada worth every penny in this scenario. His run defense is top tier. He's got a nose for the ball, and his ability to collapse gaps and shed blocks is uncanny. Watch his game tape. His power is relentless. He's a master of using his hands to disengage, and his mental processing of blocking schemes is elite. When he rushes the passer, he's not just trying to bull through. He manipulates blockers with subtle moves, setting up his spin or rip moves to create pressure. His pressure rate. Nearly 20% this season. His efficiency as a pass rusher. Better than most interior linemen in the league. Think about his role in a Detroit defense where Aiden Hutchinson can now focus on edge rushing, knowing Ani Yamada can occupy blockers and generate interior pressure. This would unlock everything. And beyond the stats, it's the intangible value that makes Ani Yamada a perfect fit. Leadership, experience, the quiet confidence of a player who's been through the trenches, literally and figuratively. His presence in the locker room and on the field is infectious. Detroit needs that kind of veteran voice to guide their young stars and elevate the collective effort. With Ani Yamada, they are not just acquiring a player, they're acquiring a culture catalyst, a guy who can shift the entire dynamic of their defense in one offseason. So how would this all shake out in terms of logistics? The trade package. I'd peg it at a second and a fourth-round pick in this year's draft plus a young player, maybe someone like Jameson Williams' replacement or a promising linebacker. Atlanta gets a high-value pick package, a veteran or two who can contribute immediately and the flexibility to pivot into their rebuild. The Lions, they get their interior enforcer, someone who can plug and play from day one and create a defensive front that opponents fear. Cap-wise, it's manageable. Onyemata's veteran contract is hefty but not prohibitive, similar to other mid-tier stars in the league, and with some creative restructuring, Detroit can make it work. What's the upshot? The winners, the Lions, without question, get a game changer, the Falcons. They get a haul that accelerates their rebuild and sets them up with assets for the future. But here's the kicker. This isn't just about now. This is about setting a tone. Detroit is signaling to the league, we mean business. We're not here to compete, we're here to dominate. And what about the league's reaction? Rumor has it that some rival teams are already sweating. The Bears, Vikings, Packers, they all know the Lions are about to take a massive step forward. Their defensive front, already scary, will now be borderline unstoppable. What happens then? The NFC North's power balance shifts dramatically. The NFC as a whole, it's wide open, but if this deal happens, the Lions will be the team to beat, the team everyone fears, and the standard all others will try to emulate. So what's next? Keep your eyes on this story, because I've heard whispers that the deal could be negotiated and finalized in the next few weeks, perhaps even before the Combine. Once this secret leaks out, the NFL landscape will be forever changed. Prepare for seismic shifts, because what I just laid out is nothing short of a strategic masterstroke, one that could cement the Detroit Lions as a true dynasty in the making. Remember, in this league, the biggest moves are made in the shadows before they ever see the light of day. And right now, that shadow is looming over Detroit, and Onyemata might just be the key to unlocking their destiny.